Okay, you ready? Hey everyone, it's Careyann Golliver, America's franchise matchmaker and founder of Franchise Logic. And today's special panelist is all about She Power. We're on the event of It's Never Been a Better Time to Consider Business Ownership in 2021. Start a business, buy a franchise, which is the right choice. So my special guest today is Colleen Biggs. And she is amazing. She's an award-winning acceleration business coach. She's an international inspiration speaker. She's an author of not just one, but I think a bunch more books coming down the pike. She's Chief Inspiration Pioneer. And on top of that, she is officer of Lead Up for Women, which is an amazing, amazing community that boasts tens of thousands of female entrepreneurs that are driven by their passions, by supporting and promoting others with a purpose to fuel female voices and power the leading way for all women to have success in the entrepreneurial market. So welcome, Colleen.
Hey, Careyann, it's so great to be here with you again today. So
Yes,
happy.
thank you so much for joining today. And you have a lot of information to share with everyone tuning in because this ain't your first rodeo.
No, I feel like I'm kind of like the stealth ninja coming in the back door because what a lot of people and maybe some of your listeners don't know about me is I spent the last, or not the last because I've been an entrepreneur now for a while, but I spent 18 years in franchising. So during that, in franchising. So during that time in franchising, I worked as the franchisor, with the franchisor, with franchisees, and launched over 340 of those businesses.
And was it a combination of retail and service or only retail? What kind of format?
They were brick and mortar and they were service.
Oh,
Yep. So it was a company that serviced families and children 4 months to 12 years of age.
excellent. So you've
Mhm.
probably really seen it all.
I have. I really have. I've seen, everything from owners that, built multiple businesses. I specialized in working with multi-unit franchisees, especially because that takes a different set of skills when you have several units versus when you're just operating one unit. But I'm all about franchising, so you can ask me anything you want
I'm
because
sure, yeah, I'm sure there's not a question you won't be able to answer.
okay.
So, and I'm sure you're happy to share all the benefits that you witnessed. And so you worked side by side with the franchisor, and were you supporting the existing franchisees that were entering into the franchise system?
Yeah. So I worked mainly with the newest franchisees that came in. I didn't support the franchisees. Once I launched the businesses with the franchisees, I shortly handed them off to somebody else who became their consultant. I lived and thrived in the new launches of business and everything that comes with launching a new business.
Yeah.
And so I know all the ins and outs of what that takes when you're both, right? Because now I'm an entrepreneur and I own my own business and I've launched 2 or 3 businesses since leaving that industry. So I can weigh the differences pretty easily now, seeing what a franchise offers you versus having to do it all on your own. I mean, we're talking everything on your own: brand, colors, marketing materials,
Trademark.
everything.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. I mean, the reason why people are attracted to buying a franchise business is because what they're really buying is a business in a box, right?
Yes.
So the operations, the training, the technology, the marketing, the HR, the support, it's all in this little box. And hopefully it's been proven out. And they need to just execute that recipe in their desired geographic area. But when you are starting a business from scratch or maybe buying an existing business that somebody else has owned that's like a local mom and pop and not a franchise, what do you see are the challenges and the advantages on both sides since you've been on both sides?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked me that. That's a great question. I always compared franchising to a loaf of bread. Now, everyone might say, like, that's really weird. Why would you do that? Well, I'll tell you why. Because when you're baking, because I'm a cooker, I'm not really a baker. When you're baking and you're making a loaf of bread, you have got to take each step exactly perfectly right for it to rise, for it to cook, for it to become a good loaf of bread, right? You can't just throw things in and then it becomes a loaf of bread. Like, there's steps that you have to take in the right order and the recipe's done for you. You know, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that say, well, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm very creative. Well, all entrepreneurs are creative. That's why we're entrepreneurs. So they say, I don't want to be stuck in a box. Well, here's the difference about that. When you are in franchising, you follow the recipe that's given to you to create the loaf of bread, but then you make that loaf of bread whatever type of bread you want it to be. Do you want it to be rosemary and herb bread? Do you want it to be sun-dried tomato bread? Like, you get to add your spice, kind of, you know, in your specialty to that bread to make it your own. But by following the proven product and by following the processes and procedures, you have the opportunity to know you're going to get a perfect loaf of bread every single time. Now, let's shift from being a franchisee over to being an entrepreneur. Basically, they're saying, here, figure out how to make a loaf of bread. You have no ingredients. You have no idea what you need to do, how much teaspoons, tablespoons. So here's what happens as an entrepreneur. You're like, where do I start? What do I think I remember of what I need to do? First of all, I probably need to have something to sell, a product, and then I need to tell people about it. And then if I'm telling them about it, they need to have somewhere to go to find it. So I need to build a website. Then if I'm on a website, I need to have something that uniquely makes my brand stand out. So a color, a logo. And then you're like, how do I market it? Where do I go to market it? That is the difference. You know, you try and figure out how to make a loaf of bread without having any recipe, any ingredients. You just have to do it on your own from scratch. And let me tell you, what happens is a lot of those loaves don't rise. A lot of those loaves burn. A lot of them are undercooked. And they're just, you know, it takes a while to get it right. Is entrepreneurship amazing for you starting your own business without being a franchisee? Absolutely. However, some people confuse being an entrepreneur as a franchisee as not really being an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur as a franchisee. The beauty is, it's like someone create, like you said, it's a box and they hand it to you and say, here you go, you're welcome. We've proven this. This is the step that you take first. This is the step that you take last. We're here to support you all along the way. You have like this built-in cheerleading system. You have a built-in training system. You have a built-in every system. And you're taught along the way how to achieve to get to the next step for you to be successful. So the odds of you being successful in a franchise are way higher than you just going out on your own and creating a brand that you don't even know if the consumer wants, needs, or desires.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you can spend a lot of time and a lot of money trying to re-educate the community. And I think that goes back to a stat that the International Franchise Association always talks about is, you know, franchise businesses, 90% of them are successful for 10 plus years, because again, it's that proven blueprint, right? To bake the bread and have the perfect loaf versus non-franchise businesses. Gosh, there are successes, but the majority of them never ever actually make their 6-year anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't happen, right? Because they spend all this time and energy trying to educate everybody. Here we are. Here's why you need our product or service. And then they run out of money. And then when they finally get awareness, they don't have enough working capital to actually support those customers anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just think about a trademark. To trademark your brand, to figure out your colors, your color scheme that's going to attract the audience, your target audience, thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars you could spend. And then, you know, you're like, okay, I still don't have any revenue coming in, right? So let's talk about, you know, the money. I mean, versus with a franchise, it's a proven model. So hopefully you're going to scale much quicker than if you start something from scratch. Although there's been experiences where people have had, so talk about, you know, why did you not ever get involved in a franchise?
People ask me that all the time because I was extremely successful in helping them launch their businesses and building their businesses and getting them off of the ground. And they said, Colleen, why aren't you buying a franchise? And I said to them, I don't know if I ever want to own my own business, for one, because I don't know if I could ever shut it off, right? Because of the responsibility of owning your own business. But two, I think the real reason behind it was I was able to impact so many lives, so many families' lives, and so many communities by doing what I was doing and assisting these owners and opening up all of their businesses than I would be able to go open just one of mine. So I wanted to have an impact more on a global scheme than I did, on just me opening up one business. So that was one reason why. And the other piece is you talked a lot about the cost it takes to research and start your brand. There's money behind a franchisor that has a proven product, right? There's money behind them. They do the research. They do all of the what are they called? I can't even remember what they're called. Where they get people in a room and they're doing the surveys and polling and they're doing these circles and asking the questions. So they're doing, yeah, that's what they're called. They're doing the research behind the scenes. Here's a big mistake that starting your own business that's not a franchise that people make. They assume because they love what they're doing and they have a product that it's in demand and other people want their product. If they don't do the research to find out if there's a demand for that product, if they're solving a problem that really exists, then they are going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and it's going to go nowhere because they're going to find out that people really don't have a use for what it is that they're trying to offer. So that's a big step that the franchisor has a bigger pocket to do that research, to make modifications within the product and help you release new products throughout your life with that franchisor as you own that business. So they're innovative. They have the money to be able to do more research and technology. So again, it's like you're partnered with a bigger angel investor, right? And someone that can assist you along the way because they're doing a lot of behind the scenes work for you that you don't even realize is so valuable rather than starting from scratch on your own.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing a lot of R&D in the background, like you said. Plus, they have a lot of purchasing power.
A lot of purchasing power.
A lot of purchasing power. So if you are needing specific equipment or supplies for your business on a regular basis, you're going to get huge discounts on those. And again, you have a partner. When you're in business for yourself, you're kind of isolated on an island. And that's why Lead Up, I think, is also really important, is because you have built this amazing platform to help other females really be heard, be seen, and support others. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, thanks, Careyann. So I knew in the franchising world when I was there that one of the biggest roadblocks for any business is exposure. And that's why we focus so highly on your marketing plan and what you're going to do to market yourself and get yourself out there. Because if no one knows about you, you're the bankrupt business in town. Let's just say it as it is. So I know that female entrepreneurs, those that are not in franchising, one of the biggest roadblocks and hurdles that exist for them is being seen, being heard, being in the spotlight, getting exposure. So I wanted to build not only a great community for women to collaborate and connect and network, but I wanted to also purposefully build it so that women had the opportunity to step into these spotlights, step onto these platforms, and and be visible to others. Because the way it works is when everyone knows about you, the more you expand your influence and the more you show up and the more you talk about you, the more that you attract clients. It's like the person that's on the corner spinning the sign, right? If you see the person on the corner spinning the sign, you're looking for where that business is that has to be close by. If that person wasn't on the corner spinning the sign, we might not even know that business was there. And I wanted to share something that I have here. Look at that. So
Yay.
there's Careyann right there on the front of our magazine that we did in the November-December issue. And why Careyann chose to be on the front of the magazine is for exposure. This gives her exposure. This also gives her credibility. So again, having this type of exposure for female entrepreneurs it's invaluable for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think activity breeds activity,
Oh yeah.
and you can be just, just pile driving at home with your head down, trying all these different things. But the real thing, and I think a lot of, entrepreneurs specifically were challenged last year because all the speaking engagements all of a sudden disappeared and they had to pivot to virtual. And the ones that did are seeing huge rewards now, right?
Mhm.
Because it's now coming full circle. So so let's talk a little bit about you know franchising has the business model, the business plan, but not everyone is a right fit for the franchise route. A lot of people say, I'm a visionary and I don't like the idea of following someone else's rules and parameters and boundaries. I want to create my own. What are some things that people should be thinking about, to really decide which direction might be right for them from your viewpoint?
Okay, so for one, if you are a purposeful driven entrepreneur, meaning you're willing to do whatever it takes. So there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into building a business, both in franchising and by yourself. But you talked about the pandemic, and I just want to touch on that very quickly because in the pandemic, why some small businesses shut down and maybe that have been open for 40 years and others that continue to move forward that might have been franchises is because they had the power behind them of the franchise. So I know of franchisors that waived royalties. I know that them that came out and gave additional help, that brought in additional personnel to help keep the businesses open. So you get so much assistance in the franchising world when the pandemic happens and you're out on your own, like you said, as an entrepreneur on your island. No one's coming, no one's there. You have to figure it out on your own. You were the one applying for the PPP loan to try and figure it out. Whatever you could do to stay afloat. And if you weren't smart enough to have a good amount of money socked away for a rainy day, that could have been the demise of your business. So I think it's important to talk about that because during the time of 2008, 2009, when we hit the recession, I got shifted in my company to specifically work with franchisees in negotiating their contracts with the landlord. That's all they had me do. And I saved so many franchise businesses just from by negotiating, having the conversations with the landlords. This is something that most of the franchisees did not know how to do.
Of
So
course.
we don't have skill sets that, as an entrepreneur, again, I want you to think about it. I know you're a visionary, but you have what you do best. And then you have to hire out the rest. So if you didn't know how to negotiate a contract, what you're able to bring forward to negotiate, what your options are, how you should do it, how do you approach the landlord, what does the conversation look like? If you're not doing that already, then you might have been one that lost your business then because the landlord would have eventually kicked you out because at that point everybody was bleeding. The landlord was bleeding because he still has to pay the loan on the building. You're bleeding because you can't pay your rent and then you're getting, your rent's getting backed up and you can't afford it. So again, these are things that, there's kind of like this cavalry that gets called in to help you out in a situation like that because everyone goes into survival mode, but there's a huge team of people that go into that mode when you're on your own. Unless you've built a large team within your business, you don't have all of that help. So that's probably the biggest thing that, I think about as an entrepreneur because we are out there on our own is we have to figure out how to navigate every situation that comes our way and pivots and changes and things that happen. And you're making every decision in your business. Now, I don't see that necessarily as the playground for a visionary. I see sometimes a playground for a visionary. I think back to my franchising days and some of the best ideas that changed the way that we did things in our business and the way that the product was delivered was through the visionary of the franchisees.
Right.
They brought that forward. So to think that you don't have an impact, you have a huge impact when you're running a successful franchise on the changes that the franchisor makes. You know, I remember Chick-fil-A, for instance, one of the franchisees in Chick-fil-A, the reason why they have homemade shakes now is because a franchisee kept pushing it, kept pushing it, kept pushing it. And now that's like their highest sold item on the menu is this shake. All because a franchisee said, I have this great idea. And they just said, prove it to us. Prove that it won't take the focus off of, you know, the timing and how we do things the way we do it. And once they fit it all in there, it became like the number one. So that helped all of the businesses grow.
Right.
And everyone's revenue increased. So it's a great example of just
that is a great
one
example.
thing.
Yeah. And I think, you know, you also need to think about, you know, do you want to build a business that's just you, right? That's dependent on you? Or do you want to build something where you're going to have other staff, not just hired out, but just literally you have other staff, you're building an asset that creates those important tax shelters for yourself. Have a built-in exit strategy. You know, the normal term for a franchise agreement, it varies. I mean, it could be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. But regardless, you can exit at any time, right? And so, I mean, do you have any success stories of people that exited the franchise that you were involved with and kind of the valuation? Was it like a multiple of 3 or a multiple higher?
Yeah, definitely. There were franchisees that, you know, here's the thing, some of them, they had to exit quickly because something happened in their family.
Sure.
The beauty of that is that we never know what tomorrow's going to bring. So the beauty of that is the resale value of a franchise versus the resale value of a brand that you built is way different. So it's the value's probably most likely higher on the resale value for someone in a franchise because, again, they've got all the proven products and pieces in place. You've got the staff right now. They're already bringing in cash. So I've seen people where things have happened in their business and they've had to exit very quickly and they were able to get out, you know, maybe even. And then I know some when the economy was really great, they were like, this is my time to sell out because they put in the hard work. They built that business from scratch. Again, just because it's a franchise doesn't mean that you didn't attract the customers to you. You didn't build the team, that you built all of that.
Right.
You just used the proven blueprint to build it that was already set for you. It's like taking a blueprint for a house and building it. You still build it, but you just chose which blueprint to use, you know, versus trying to design it all by yourself.
Right.
Yeah, so the resale value on that, I've seen owners exit out and get, you know, 2 or 3 times the amount that they put into it. And they were very happy with that. That was their retirement plan the entire time.
Yeah.
And they loved their journey. And now they got to move on to other things because necessarily this isn't their life of what they want to do forever. And sometimes their kids grow up and go off to college and now their life looks a little bit different. So knowing what that exit strategy is, franchising always has it pretty clean for you and they're there to support you in that and help you find someone to buy your business. Of course, when you're out on your own, you have to go find someone to help you sell that business and evaluate that business and, you know, hopefully it values it, what you're looking to get out from it. But
yeah, it can be challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be very challenging because let's face it, nobody's going to think their baby's ugly. So there's so many emotions that are involved because you did build it from scratch and you nurtured it and you loved it and you grew it. And then you're like, what? It's only worth this much? Are you nuts? Right. So it requires significant caution. And it's all, again, finding the right outside advisors to help you with those specific tasks as a business owner, whether you're in a franchise or just a regular business. So Colleen, obviously, if a female was a franchise owner they could join Lead Up. They could have you as a business coach to help them stay on track. And also, if they have their own business, they can join Lead Up as well. So, what offering do you have for everyone tuning in today?
Yeah, I'm so sad that some franchisors that are out there, don't offer maybe as much of support as I offered when I was there and supported franchisees. So I'm always available. I have, 18 years of franchising and supporting franchises. So I'm always available for that. I believe my offer, you're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong because I can't remember what my offer was. Was it the magazine or was it okay, just making sure because I do different ones. So you get a copy of this awesome magazine that you see right here. And what I love about this magazine is these are stories of female entrepreneurs, business owners in leadership, business, lifestyle, and we have a philanthropy section and all about their trials in business. It's practical, tactical tools that you can apply to your business of how to overcome some of those hurdles and break through and take action to success. So I love this magazine. It's just a great read, and it's also got some really great women on it.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's monthly, correct? Monthly
We do
magazine.
it every other month.
Oh,
Yep.
every
We
other
do
month.
six,
Got it.
six issues a year. And so they can go download a digital download copy on our website. Everything's on our website, Lead Up for Women. In fact, you can find me everywhere, Lead Up for Women, all social media platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and on leadupforwomen.com.
Excellent.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for all the insights you've set on both sides of the fence. You've been successful, extremely successful, inspiring to hundreds and hundreds of people out there. So, just really feel honored to have you on as a guest. Thanks, Colleen.
Thank you, Careyann. I'm just so blessed to be here. I think you're amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.